It's time for Drummer Nation. Time again for Drummer Nation. Welcome everyone. On the show I'm happy to present Chris Bennett. Chris Bennett is the owner of a cool boutique stick company made for jazz guys called Bopworks Drumsticks. He's from Austin, Texas, and I caught up with him at the Chicago Drum Show earlier this year. Before Chris, I'd like to remind you that first of all I took a couple of weeks off for vacation. Much needed. I'm fresh. I'm ready. I'm cool. I'm back. And during that time, I redid a lot of the old shows for audio only. So if you're a podcast person and you like audio as your chosen format, you should be able to find them all there. Also, I've introduced recently, I've mentioned on previous shows, a Patreon site, which is where you can be a patron of the arts, in this case, a patron of the show, Drummer Nation. So you get some pretty cool perks, and it's very little money you'll never miss. Please check that out. And also, we're continuing to add new sponsors. You'll see those coming on in the ensuing weeks. Have some great interviews lined up for you that you haven't seen yet. Colin Schofield, from many years at Zildjian, a legend in the industry, though he's not there anymore. Todd Zuckerman did a great interview a week or so ago. We've got Pete Lockett lined up. All kinds of great surprises. So stay with us, hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the fan, hit whatever button you got there that will ensure that you can see us on a regular basis. And we'll look forward to seeing you. Chris Bennett, after this word from my sponsors. The former Crescent Vanguard series are now widely available as part of the legendary Sabian HH models. HH cymbals are traditionally hand-hammered into shape and sound by Sabian craftsmen. Each cymbal receives between 2,000 and 4,000 hammer blows, resulting in increased musicality, tone of complexity, and unmatched sonic texture favored by drummers in the know for generations. Find out more about the Vanguard series and all other Sabian models at Sabian.com. Musician, designer, and award-winning innovator Ron Dennett relentlessly pursues quality of sound. Every Dennett classic drum is crafted completely by hand, carefully assembled one at a time, and personally signed by Ron himself. The shell weights are tuned for optimal performance, giving each one inherent resonance, full-range dynamics, and a pure, rich tone. All Dennett classic snare drums feature soft, contoured beds that are deep cut to eliminate snare buzz and accommodate the use of wider 42-strand snares. Compare a Dennett with others in its class, and you'll discover that the alternative is compromise. Michael Vosbine at the Chicago Drum Show with Drummer Nation, and it's my privilege to welcome to the stage, to the mic, to the show, my buddy Chris Bennett with Bopworks Drumsticks. How are you, Chris?
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Now, I first came aware of you when I used to go to Austin for a lot of the trade shows there. And I know you're a drummer around town in Austin, professional musician, teacher, but you also have something very unique. You've started a stick company. Tell me about that.
Thank you. We have a company named Bopworks Drumsticks, based out of Austin. We make sticks primarily for jazz drummers who want a good sound on the ride cymbal and don't want to have it overdriven. Sort of like Phosphorus, Crescent, some of those cymbals. The hand-hammered stuff.
I'll tell you a story about that.
Okay.
Inevitably would be at a trade show and somebody would come up with a 5B or something and start whacking on a cymbal and hammer. Jeff Hamilton, my friend and partner, he'd say, "Man, I don't get this cymbal." And Hammer would say, "You know, that one's not for you."
No.
So what we're getting at is if you like to swing away with baseball bats, there's plenty of sticks out there for that.
Hundreds.
And plenty of cymbals and drums for that. But that ain't what we did, that ain't what you did.
Nope.
What you do.
Nope.
So tell me about Bopworks sticks. How would they be different than anybody else's?
Well, I just happen to have a pair of right
How
there.
about that?
What a coincidence. So basically, They're all made out of hickory, traditional. What we try and do is keep the tip and the taper elongated, so that when you're hitting the ride cymbal, it's not going to overdrive the ride cymbal. So you have a nice hand-hammered cymbal that you paid whatever
a lot of money for
it. You know, and
I get it. They're expensive.
Yes, there are. So I think just if you take any pair of sticks and you try a bunch of sticks on the same cymbal, you're going to hear.
You're going to hear it.
Right.
But critical to that is the tip, don't you think?
I think so, and the tip and the taper. So I guess if we were maybe to pull these out of the bag. By the way, you can scan this QR code and it'll take you right to our website.
Beautiful. I don't think it'll work on video.
No, probably not.
We'll put a link to your site in the notes.
Okay, so this is our newest.
I read about this, Memphis R&B.
Memphis R&B. And some may recognize that this tip shoulder combination. In fact, if you were to say this is it reminds people of the Buddy Rich stick, the L15 from the 1970s, it's nothing like that. But anyway, so the idea, longer taper. This tip is specific to the not Buddy Rich stick. And most of the tips, and it's all the tips in the shoulders. So the Mel Lewis model that we've got.
Well, let's back up for a second.
Yes,
you went to specific models from well-known guys from that era and teamed with their estates.
We did. I picked a bad week to quit sniffing glue. So yes, so we made a couple different models, just small runs of the models, handed out to drummers in Austin. They all liked them. So handed out a few more to yourself. So we were thusly encouraged. And then I thought, well, you know, people are starting to forget who Mel Lewis is and Shelly Manne, and that's not right. So we had luck with their estates and got the sticks that we wanted from the correct era. Finally got Art Blakey. That took about 2 years because he has a lot of kids, a extended family. And
so who are your signature models now?
The signature models now are the Mel Lewis and the Art Blakey. We had a Shelly Manne. I guess we're going to bring that back because every time we discontinue something, everybody gets upset.
That's when they want it.
You probably know that one.
I'm hip.
Yeah. So, but since we're all talking about jazz drummers and we know how obsessive everybody is, and you know, the tip, and sometimes I'll have to weigh the stick, pair of sticks, so they get the lightest ones or the heaviest ones. So, I don't know how we did it. You know, we just had
well, let's
sticks.
go back. You have Shelly.
We're not currently, but we're going to reintroduce it.
But you had Shelly, you have Mel.
Mel Lewis.
Gene still in it?
Not exactly.
There was a Gene Krupa.
There was a Gene Krupa. That's now the 40 Swing Classic.
Okay, all right.
Identical stick.
Right.
Had to let that one go.
And you've got a lot of support in the jazz community because jazz sticks are a little different. You know, they don't overpower the cymbal, especially.
Yes.
More so than the drums, I think. The cymbal sound is paramount with a jazz stick. Yeah. And people know, you know, a lot of times the stick companies would drop off sticks at the booths when we had these trade shows.
Yes.
Because they walk, you know, kids, they don't even know they're taking them. They just accidentally do. But half the time I wouldn't be able to use most of them because they were these big baseball bats. And it just doesn't have the same sound.
It doesn't, and it's such... Again, being a jazz drummer yourself, you know how obsessive people get about cymbal sounds, and so.
Well, but if you listen to all the great jazz drummers, their cymbal sounds were their signatures, you know.
Yeah, and those were, by our standards, would have been really thin, washy cymbals.
And some of them short too. You had a Birdland model. You still have that?
We do.
That's very, very short.
That's very short. But it, you know, that's what everybody was using because they didn't.
That's like what Roy might have played back in the day.
Roy Haynes was very yes. What else? The 40 Swing Classic again. You mentioned that was like the Gene Krupa triangle tip.
That's a cool tip too.
That is a cool tip. That whole triangle thing, the way it lays on the cymbal.
What's the website so people can go check these out?
It is www.bopworks.net.
Great name. Bopworks.net. Now, do you sell through dealers, or you sell online, or both, or all of the above, or what?
We sell both to dealers, and we do sell online. Personally, I'd rather have everybody buy from a dealer just to support, because our drum shops sound like Sally Yates. The drum shops need support, you know, and
I couldn't agree with you more.
You know.
We would sometimes sell at these shows that a lot of end users come to, but we'd always try to work in the dealer, because that's who your meat and potatoes are. That's you can't go to Ford and buy a truck.
You cannot.
You know, I mean, that's the way it works. And your dealers, you live and die with the dealers, and we always had some great ones. I'm sure you do too. They're on your website?
They are.
Now, how are you feeling? I know we won't go into, but you had some health scare a few years back. You okay now?
I did. Yeah, it's this guy Michael Vossbein told me a good joke about that. They gave me a year to live, and I didn't pay the bill, so they gave me another year.
Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you
That's
did.
That's not my joke.
I know, but I still use it because it was.
Well, you look great.
So, thank you. And
you feeling well?
I'm feeling well. I'm hanging in.
Are you gigging still?
Yeah, but you know, the live music capital of the world, it's a lot of competition all of a sudden.
You know, I don't know what happened. You know, all of us veteran guys of a certain age used to do dozens and dozens of gigs a month, and those working day things aren't there anymore.
No, they're not.
I don't know if we aged out and the whole system changed, or all of the above. You know?
I don't know. I guess all you can do is just keep hoping that you get a gig
And keep it.
And keep it. But
so you know the joke, a musician puts $50,000 worth of gear in a $5,000 van, drives 500 miles, and works for $50.
$50? No. But that's true, actually.
The guy comes back from the future. He's out, 20 years. He comes back. What'd you find out? Oh, gigs still pay $100.
That's true too. I remember making more in the 80s than I do now.
It used to be you could do just fine back then.
Yeah.
And every place had a band. Everybody was working. Hey, man, we sound like our grandfathers.
We do. But as a teacher yourself, you may notice this, that guitar sales, electric guitar sales have gone down because a lot of kids growing up are doing EMD music that doesn't include guitar.
Yeah, a lot of hip-hop didn't include drums.
Exactly. So guitar, the school where I teach, the Austin School of Music, shameless plug, Dave Seabury, you owe me money. They actually had guitars kind of drop off for a while. And you're in Austin, right? Stevie Ray Vaughan. And guitar lessons are so anyway.
So last night you and I were in a bar, and I said to you, see those two sad old cadres on the other side of the bar? That'll be us in a couple of years. And you said, we're looking at a mirror.
We're going, ba-doom. I'm sorry, yes. You always had better jokes than I did.
I don't know. Anyway, you're still in Austin, everything cool. Oh,
still
brush, you have a brush.
Yes, okay.
This is new?
Yes, this is new. And
you didn't used to have a brush.
I didn't, and unfortunately, I probably didn't bring enough up to the show.
They going well?
Yeah, I didn't think.
Tell me the thought behind the brush.
I'm really much more smooth and suave than this. Okay, so this is the Bopworks brush. So we're having this made by a famous brush guy who used to work at the Slingerland factory. I don't know if he's famous, but he makes really good brushes. So he actually is duplicating the brushes that Buddy and Gene played, which was thinner wire. So this particular thing locks out at 2 inches. So you have a shorter spread there.
Oh, they're very thin.
Yeah, but that's what we used to play on, right? And for years I was buying vintage brushes off eBay just to get the thin wire.
Well, that's a great choice for people to have, because I know now, like, let's mention Regal Tip. They have a dean of brushes, let's say, they had a gauge that was very popular, like the rubber handle retractable green box.
Yeah.
Jeff Hamilton came out with some that are quite heavy.
Yes.
Surprisingly, Jason Sutter has a brush that's kind of in the middle. You wouldn't think of Jason Sutter, who played with Marilyn Manson, as a brush guy. He's a great brush player. He's a great jazz player.
Wow.
Went to University of North Texas. And now this would be far on the light side of that.
Yeah.
So the idea is that drummers need choices.
We do, and again, this is like old school, so all we're trying to do is just bring back the choice of lighter brushes, and I wish I had 1/3 the technique Jeff Hamilton had on brushes. You
Me
know?
too.
So he can play anything, and it's going to be, great. A great player. So hopefully,
it's almost a curse to say I used to study with him because everybody says, "Show me your brush."
Yeah, yes. Let's see the brush.
And I have adequate brush chops, but not,
Yeah, Hamilton and Steve Smith and all those
Yeah,
guys.
when I get around those guys, I just shut up and listen.
Yeah, it's just like, no, I never really learned how to play brushes. It was just kind of a...
What is that? How does
What
that
is
work?
it? Is
You
it
paint
kind
with
of
it?
like- yeah.
You kind of do.
Right, you do, actually.
You paint
Kind of
sonically.
Colors, musical colors, yeah. So, anyway, so we're kind of excited about these. The handle, the thing that it does this look at sales pitch? I don't know. But it won't.
You're doing very well.
Okay, good.
Now, is this your first Chicago drum show?
It is. It
Good
is.
response out there?
I'm surprised, yeah. Who knew? I mean, I thought we were going to get a lot more rock guys coming by, and
It's everybody.
what are these?
It's everybody, man.
Yeah,
It's a
but
good mix of everybody.
Yeah.
And Chicago has such a rich history of drumming, drum legacies. In fact, every now and then Rob Cook will do something on a Monday after the show. And he does this tour of historic drum sites
Really?
in Chicago. The gem of which, when I did it, was to visit Gene Krupa's grave in Calumet City. So if he ever does that, or you have a chance to do that, I know you would particularly dig that.
We're staying here for the week, so I would love to do
Calumet
that.
City. Rob can tell you
Yeah.
where it is, because I don't think anybody can just find it. But it's a grave on a hillside.
Yeah.
But it choked everybody up. It's Gene Krupa's grave. And we all know, in many drum stars as there are nowadays, Gene was,
It was Chicago.
Gene was the guy, and
Gene
Chicago
was
was
the
the
guy.
spot. Not to mention Slingerland and Ludwig and the Musser factory and all that stuff.
Leedy in Indiana.
Yeah,
right?
he knows where all that stuff is.
Yeah.
So check him out on that.
Yeah, well, Rob, I got all his books, man. We owe him a great debt for
We
just
do, we
the
do.
drum nerd vintage stuff.
Drum nerds unite.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm going to hang with you
Appreciate
next
it.
time I'm in Austin.
Okay, do it.
All right, brother.
And we'll see you then. Thank
Take
you.
care.
All
Chris
right.
Bennett.
Thank you.
This is your host, Michael Vosspine, and I want to thank our friends at Atlanta Pro Percussion, Bennett Classic Drums, Sabian Cymbals, and Classic Drummer Magazine.